Hey, kindred astral travelers and travelesses. Welcome back to the Astral Tourist, the show where we explore the surreal, the strange, and the mind bending realms of the astral plane. I'm your guide through the cosmic corridors, and today we're diving into some rather unusual experiences I had during one of my sleepless nights in September 9th, 2021. I'm re recording this now on November 24th, 2024, for all of you time travelers out there. Most importantly, due to the poor sound quality. I just like to record all of these details because you never know when one might come in, right? I haven't ever forgotten these experiences from this night, especially the one that happens later on in the church. Oh my gosh, the church. It's like Hotel California, but I don't want to give too much away immediately, but wow. Um, so let's start at the beginning of the night for me. And this is a particularly long night for me, by the way. I don't get these all night, every night, all the time. These longer ones are when I'm really well rested or something's going on, hot flashes, whatever. Other stuff is happening. So I do have longer ones from time to time, but you know what? It's just a powerful experience, and I'm just taking a moment out loud with you all. So I'm going to get into it. I have taken notes and printed out the notes on my papers here. So I will be reading, but also I like to put myself back inside the moments. So hopefully I can capture the emotions enough that you understand what I was going through and hopefully what others were too. So picture this. I wasn't sleeping well. I kept waking up every couple of hours. But hey, every time I woke up, I felt like it's a new chance, right? A fresh opportunity to slip into that astral state. So that's exactly what I did. That's what I was doing. And in this particular case, I was lying on my stomach. Who knows how many times I turned over before that? I tend to turn over a lot. I do have physical pain in my body. And I ask for project with it. And I try to leave it behind. And you can to some degree, but not always. And I thought, if I'm not going to get any sleep anyway, why not just go out there and see what happens? This is part of my just for a moment technique. And I'm not sure if I covered that in my guidebook there. I do use some other techniques other than what I covered. What I covered in that guidebook is, I think, the most straightforward way to ask for project, and it's what I use a lot of the time. But I do use other methods now, and I did then. And by then I meant when I was younger. Just for a moment comes from when I was younger, astral projector. And I thought, if I can pop out just for a moment, I'm good, good to go. So that's where that all comes from. So why not just go out, see what happens? If I get pulled back, oh well, because I know why. I'm not well rested enough. But eventually it works. I felt my astral body shift upwards slowly, like I was peeling away from the bed. Oh, it was so hard. I still remember that peeling sensation. It was like, oh. And you gotta not focus on that when that happens. Try not to. I know it's hard, but you gotta be on your target destination. So I floated up just a little bit and then drifted off to the side. I did not have a lot of control here. I was hovering there in midair. I didn't want to get pulled back, so I remembered to phase out really fast. I didn't particularly remember my target locale during this one. I was that kind of, up and down all night or whatever. But I remembered to get out fast, quick, before the pull of my physical body could drag me back. So I usually phase out my bedroom window, but this time there's no window. Instead, there was a crack in the wall. Just a small detail there, but something is out of place. It was enough to show me that not everything in the astral is a perfect mirror of the physical world. And a lot of people I see asking on the astral projection subreddit about this. Like, why isn't it exactly the same? Well, it's not. And even if you think it is, if you really inspect the details, it's not. Okay. And you will notice this more and more and more as you astral project more and more and more. You want to think it is because it's something that's familiar, right? But it's not. And in this case, I had this huge glaring crack, which is a clear sign something is different. And you'll notice these little glitches, whatever they are, the moments where things don't line up like you think they're going to. And so I phased right through the wall and out into the night. I have a video about how to get through your walls and windows, but I don't want to get into it right now because I have a lot to cover. So the sky was dark, still evening, and I was thinking of it in a layered form because it felt like I'd been peeling out. So I'm like, oh, which astral layer is this? I'm going to be chill and cool, and I've unlayered myself, I guess. Who knows how many times, right? Normally I could shift into a brighter time, like the next afternoon or into a different season. But with my energy being a little bit lower, I decided not to push it. I wasn't planning to go too far, just explore what I could and pop back. I mean, that's it. I knew I was having a difficult evening. I didn't want to do too much, but I thought, why not take a peek around? If I'm going to be awake anyway, I might as well be awake in the astral. So I saw some stars, but they weren't spacey stars. And see, this is where you can begin to discern astral layers and dimensions. When you get up close, they look like pieces of paper, kind of, or soft plastic. So these were different. And certain layers, you can shift between the dimensions just by flying upwards because they're really thin. And you start to feel it. Like sometimes the geometry of the space changes too. The whole vibes shift. Sometimes they're really minor, and other times they're not so minor. And these particular stars looked like golden buttons to me, but only three-dimensional orbs. Like these orbs covered with like a button shapes to them somehow. And I remember I had visited this dimension before, but I didn't remember the details. So, I'm getting closer to the experiences and I tend to pause a lot because I'm trying to go back there too. So, hopefully this recording will come out okay. And anyway, I flew towards them, and as I ascended, the sensation felt like passing through a thin sheet of paper, like I was just saying, a layer so fragile, so light. And then I was in the void. I've been in the void so many times, folks, in space, in dimensions. There are so many different kinds of voids. I'm wondering how many really, but I was in a void, I can tell you that. And I put this down on the paper. There's a lot of space like this between dimensions because there is. And kind of like the blackness of outer space is what I wrote, but with no stars, just nothing. But I could feel I wasn't in outer space either. So I focused, trying to tune in, searching for any sign of life or energy or just anything. I figured, okay, I'm out here. I gotta try. So, not after that, I shifted into a new place. Well, just while I was still like in that transitory state, like going on through these paper and plastic dimensions and stuff. Um, this dimension, this world, it was called Open Face. So I met a couple there, which is why I remember it. And networking, folks. You want to astral project, remember to network while you're there because people will keep reminding you. Um, anyway, this couple was an older man and woman. I asked them where I was, and the man confirmed it and said the world was called Open Face from whatever memory I had had about this place before. He was referring back to some memory I couldn't remember. This is how it is sometimes, at least for me. And the woman echoed the same, but it was clear they were both a bit distracted. Still, I wanted to be sure I had gotten the name right, so I asked again. They didn't seem too bothered by my questions, though the whole place had a strange off-kilter vibe. Um, I don't know that I felt completely safe there, but I know how to handle myself. So I was like, okay, I'm somewhere in the astral. I got to keep my guard up a little bit. And these people were nice and good to me. So I'm thinking I knew them from some other astral projection and maybe I helped them out. I don't know, because that all kind of seemed too easy. But open face dimension. I wandered around feeling a little nosy because that's how I am. I'm a nosy person. I keep secrets really well, but I like to nose around and find out stuff. And found myself peering into a back area behind some silverish colored buildings. And what I saw was really odd. And I know I've seen others talk about this before, not really often, but sometimes. But there were just rows of showers, people just taking showers, and there were so many rows. I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50 rows. I don't know, all with people taking showers. Some were partially clothed, some in their birthday suits, let's say. I wasn't about to overstep though. Privacy is still a thing in the astral, at least, I like to try and respect it. But the whole place just felt off, a little low vibe for me. Not really evil or dark too much, even though there wasn't a lot of light going on. But this was definitely not a higher dimension, right? And I didn't want to bother people while they're taking showers. And that older couple, they were nice, but I didn't want to go out of my way and disturb them even more than I already had. They pretty much already had told me where I was. So I woke myself up. No harm done. I just felt like I needed a break. And, after I went back to sleep, as soon as I turned over, I'm not even sure I did the whole wake back to bed. I think I just woke up and turned over. And boom, my astral body shut out again. Same sensation, same shift. Tuning into the same frequency, unfortunately. I don't remember for sure. I don't know if I tried for a higher dimension. Normally I would. But remember, I'm working on super tired here and probably back pain. So that crack in the wall was still there, waiting for me. This time I found a crowd of people standing around, not doing much of anything. They seemed unaware, like they were waiting for something to happen. I floated down to mingle, but nobody really noticed me. I decided to keep moving, see what else I could find. I noticed that familiar dimension shift layer in the sky again. Those three same dimensional um, golden buttons, like spheres, but also buttons. I was determined to reach them again despite my fatigue. After all, I didn't have anything else to do. Why not keep going and try to forget my pain? As I ascended, I heard this strange hissing sound, almost like steam escaping from a pressure valve. I still recall it. It was very odd, like hypnagogic, but I knew I wasn't in a hypnagogic state. I tried to ignore it just in case I was kind of waking up, but then it happened again and my instincts kicked in. I knew something was really off, so I switched on my 360-degree vision, set the lights to full, and scanned the entire area. I was panning around. And then I saw her, a woman with long dark hair floating beside me. She was clutching my left hand, but her nails were not just nails. They were metallic, long, sharp claws that were dug into my knuckles. So she wasn't just clutching my left hand, she was digging in with these long, sharp razor claws. And I hadn't even felt it happen. But I did have that sensation with the steam and the hissing and all of that. So some part of me knew, right? And she noticed I was aware of her and she shifted instantly, changing form. Suddenly she was a man with dark hair. I didn't flinch. I just telepathically communicated. I've seen you. I know you're a woman, and I'm not sure why you're attached to me like this. Sometimes I kind of like to give astral hitchhikers a vibe, like I don't know what's going on, even though I do. And she responded telling me that she likes to shapeshift into her husband's form and that she murdered him. Okay, this is a typical tactic for people trying to steal your energy. Don't fall for it. So I didn't let it rattle me. I try to scare you, feed off your fear, but I wasn't about to give her that kind of a satisfaction, even while I was tired. I'm kicking around up there like, yeah, it's not gonna work. I didn't know she was like a being or just someone's consciousness trying to steal some energy. And I didn't really, because I was tired, I didn't feel like doing full scans to find out. But I also was not going to be her emotional prey. So I shifted, dissolved really, just into a cloud of light. Well, not even that light, just like a cloud in the sky, poof. And her eyes went wide, like really big. And her claws weren't stuck in my knuckles anymore, because I didn't have knuckles anymore. And she was not expecting that. I'm like, yeah, shapeshift on me. See where you end up in the air there, lady. She looked shocked, and I have to admit, I really did get a little kick out of that. I mean, I wrote little, but it was bigger than little, being honest. I don't know why little things like that just make me happy, but they do. They shouldn't really. You got to stay zen in the astral. So be careful about getting too happy about things like this. But you got to stand your ground, even if you're flying in the air. And that's how I did it. I just kind of shifted on out of her like in Knuckles. I don't think so. I'm sure she did not enjoy that, but you can shift your energy, change your form, and be surprised by the unexpected, right? Lose a hitchhiker that easy. Hopefully it's always that easy. It's not always that easy, but in this case it was. So with that, I woke myself up again because I'm like, I wasn't afraid, but I was like, that sort of energy and vibe and all of that doesn't sit really well. It felt weird and I wanted a fresh start. So now I am doing an actual wake back to bed, a real one. I got up, I got water, I got a snack. I'm like, what the heck is going on with this crack in the wall? And I remember I grabbed some Cheerios, of all things, Cheerios, and I went back to sleep. Not long after, I found myself floating in again, the same room, the same crack in the wall, same astral layer in the sky there. And I phased out and it ended up in a giant church, one that felt oddly like it was straight out of, I don't know, like a movie or something, but it wasn't. It wasn't a movie playing, but there was definitely a movie like quality too. It's kind of strange that way. Not dreamlike, completely not movie like, completely not astral like, completely. I mean, this place was its own place. The people in the crowd were silent. Nobody was speaking. They just stared ahead, mesmerized, waiting for something or for someone. I didn't feel like sticking around for whatever that sermon was going to be. I was still being kind of creeped out by my last experiences, even though I was keeping my cool. I was keeping my cool and like, what's going on here? And I thought I would wake myself up, but I looked around first because I'm a curious gal. And I found a woman in the entryway of the church. So again, I'm just like searching around to see what there is. So that's what I do. And I asked her what this place was called, and she told me it was the Heritage Church. She was a little hazy on the details, like where it was located and all, but I managed to get some information. Apparently, it was created by someone named King Veritas, is what she called him. Remember, our minds are always interpreting things in the astral, so that might be not be exactly literal, but it's as close as I could get. And this church was this astral dimension was his gift to the congregation, his legacy. I took a quick look through all the materials that she gave me, but I couldn't really focus on them too much. There were so many. I skimmed through a lot of it, but I also didn't want to get too deep into reading them all, especially since I was not a part of their congregation. I was just visiting after all. Remember, I like to remember that I'm always a tourist. Um, and respect the space and all of this. But also I'd had a really weird night, right? So as I stood there, something started to sink in, like just the information was coming in. And I don't know if it was from her, it might have been, or just the place itself. Like I was reading the whole energy, the whole place, but the whole Hotel California vibe kept coming in like clearer and clearer. I think it was something about those people that I'd seen earlier. Just the whole vibe, the whole place. I think they seemed to think that there was no way out, but it was like a layer of telepathy and emotion that wasn't really direct. It was more like instinctual. And it was unsettling because in that moment it hit me just how cult like this whole thing seemed to be. Um, it wasn't funny, but I have to also report because it's part of the experience. Even though part of me was almost giggling nervously at the absurdity of it, I also was really sad for them. It was like, I didn't know how to react emotionally, and remember, got to keep Zen in the astral. So, I think these people seem to be trapped in their own minds in this room, this big room. This is an offshoot room from the help desk area there out in front where the lady was. Convinced they couldn't leave, but I'm not sure that they were convinced as much as just mesmerized or something. Anyway, they weren't going anywhere. And I started to wonder how long they were going to stay stuck there, waiting for whatever might happen that was never really coming. Very cultish vibes. And no, I don't think all churches are cults or anything. I don't believe that. I'm not a very religious person, but I don't think all churches are cults. But I was definitely getting cultish vibe from this place. And so the woman who handed me the materials kind of seemed like she was almost out of it, but then she was also like standing in the entryway to the outer wall now in this entryway area that I was now in. And she looked different, like a huge weight had been lifted off of her shoulders. Now, this took a little time, like, I don't know, minutes maybe, not a lot. She was more lucid, more present. Her face was glowing with relief. And she told me that her only job had been to pass on the legacy. It was her only purpose. And now she had done that. She was free to go, move on to whatever came next in her existence. And there was this huge sense of peace around her. It's like, wow, what did I just get landed with? I thought about trying to hand it back to her, but I couldn't do that to her. She was so relieved. And, I didn't feel like I belonged in this situation. I was certainly not a part of these people's community. I wondered why I was even there in the first place. And I remembered having a hard night astral projecting, but maybe I could help. I can't say for sure why I was having such a difficult night other than the back pain, and the strange crack in the wall. I mean, maybe I was brought to this strange place on purpose somehow, but I don't know. I'm just guessing, really. Um, and I thought if I could give them this legacy, all this material this lady just handed over to me, maybe they stop waiting around for something that's never coming, and finally move on. And maybe this was the key to unlocking whatever held them in that room so mesmerized, stuck in this limbo. People I've found in groups in the astral they feel like they need something specific to move on. In this case, it's a whole group. And I'm no expert at this. I mean, I've been asked for projecting for many years, and yeah, I'm an expert in certain things, but dealing with this many people with this kind of a problem's not really my forte. So I found myself puzzled. Why didn't she just take all the material into the room herself? She had it in her hands. Why leave it with me? I started thinking to myself, maybe she thought she might get sucked back into the whole thing if she stepped back in there. Maybe she felt like she wouldn't be able to escape again if she went back into that space. She didn't say that to me at all, but I couldn't help but wonder about it to myself. I can still only guess at her reasons. She must have stayed out there for a reason, right? And before I could sort through all of my many thoughts, the next thing I knew, this man from the crowd who had been in the main room uh, came storming out right through the wall. I don't know if he saw me go through the wall, like reflexively or something when I was in there with them, and realized that, hey, there must be a way out through the wall too. Um, but he was furious, full of anger. He saw I was holding all this material, the legacy material, and he was livid, ranting, demanding to know why I had it. Why was I holding it now? Why didn't he get to have it? Why wasn't it being handed off to him? Didn't he deserve it? He had all these thoughts. Um, what about the others inside? They deserve to know that the material was meant for them too. All of these thoughts going on in his head. It took me a few moments to calm him down. I didn't know what kind of a person he was or how much control he had over his emotions, but I wasn't able, about to just hand everything over to someone in such an agitated state. I told him, I'm not going to run off with this. I'm not going to leave you all without it. Just, I'll make sure everyone gets it, but I can't just give it to you when you're being like this. He seemed to realize I wasn't some kind of a thief trying to steal away their legacy, but the tension was really high. He calmed down a little bit, but I could see the anxiety was still there. That feeling like this was all kind of slipping through his fingers, like he didn't have the control anymore. Not like he ever had it, right? He'd been in that room all zoned out with everyone else. So eventually we came to a compromise. We were telepathing back and forth so fast. While I was trying to be calm and show him I was calm, he should be calm. So the compromise was I wouldn't give him the materials outright because I didn't trust his emotional reaction there. But I would go back to the room with him. We'd go in together and he would set up the view screen. During all of this exchange, he had quickly, sometimes telepathy is so fast, man. He had quickly telepathically informed me that there was a view screen, and that was a very important part of the whole process. And he knew how to work the machine. Very important person here knows how to work the view screen. And that was a very important detail. So that was the deal I made with him. He'd be in charge of presenting it all in the proper way. He could be the big man. And I would bring the materials in as a kind of assistant. So I am definitely going to be listing this as a job, one of my trippy astral jobs. I was not going to leave the materials in the hands of someone too upset to think clearly, but he was kind of getting on board with the whole thing by now. He was still calming down at the same time. And he was beginning to understand my point of view. Like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be handing materials over to someone who's upset. So we went back into the room through the wall. His attitude changed almost instantly because the moment we walked back in, he almost went into this state of joy, like this isn't really happening kind of thing. Almost childlike, really. I mean, just pure joy. It was like I had just given him everything he had hoped for, because at the same time, he's also thinking really fast still. She's really coming back in here. She's going to see this through for us. We're finally going to get our legacy. Um, I can't even explain the joy and the excitement and like the weight of this legacy took over versus um, whatever other stuff had been going on or agreement. He didn't care that I had it anymore, even, he was like, um, the whole weight lifted from him. And we made our way to the stage. I held the materials up and opened my arms up really wide. Didn't write that in my notes, but I remember now. I opened my arms up wide so everyone could see them. There were tons of these little pins, brochures, awards, and stuff that looked like recognition for years of service or dedication. The room felt like it was like I holding its breath, but not really, waiting for all of these legacies to be revealed. Because even though I showed that we had them up there and he had the view screen going, um, people were still waiting, like on the edge of their seats, like who is it? Who's gonna be noticed, or and whatnot. Whatnot. That's a term from when? I don't even know. Um, so I began handing him the pieces of material that I had kept one by one over to him. Some of the names of the people who had earned these honors were being displayed on the screen. And there was an overwhelming sense of relief from the crowd as this continued on. And they were getting what they waited for. And at that moment, it was like everything clicked. The King Veritas Heritage Church here was receiving its astral legacy. And I don't even know how far this was going back, how long they were there. The people who had been stuck in that room waiting for something or someone to give them some closure now had it. I mean, what happened to this King Veritas guy? Was he trying to mesmerize them on purpose? I don't know. Um, anyway, at some point in all of this, I lit up a part on the wall to help them slip through it easier whenever they were ready to go. I kind of like snuck it in there, like a little flick of my wrist or something. I woke up while all of this was unfolding and I couldn't help but feel a little unsure, like, did I do enough? After all, I woke up before I could be certain they all left through the wall. Did they finally get the closure they needed? I hope they have now been shown how to leave, particularly by that one man, but the light is there on the wall for them. I hope they don't stay trapped there forever like the Hotel California, where you can check in, but you can never leave. If the legacy was truly the only thing they were waiting for, then, I like to think they've been freed. After such a challenging night in the astral, such low energy, I did not expect anything like this to happen. I'm not religious, not in the traditional sense at all. I'm very eclectic lady. So maybe it took an outsider, someone who wasn't already entangled up in their system, to see the bigger picture and help them find their way out. Whatever happens to them next, it's better than being stuck in a room forever, just waiting. That was really weird, even for me. So, yeah, that was my experience. Strange, profound, a little eerie, but it's something I'll remember always. And hopefully, the people in that room can, have already moved on. I was going to say can now move on, but hopefully they have, find more peace and leave whenever they are ready to exit that very strange dimension. So, where did that crack in the wall come from anyway? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was like trying to get me there all along. And maybe this is a quantum physics thing. I don't know. So stay all cool and chill out there, astral wanderers and dimensional explorers. Don't check into any cults or hotels you can't check out of. Keep on keeping on and have a joyful, beautiful day or evening, wherever you may be.